It is my honor to introduce Dr. Olusola Ayoola. He is not just a name within the AI and robotic community. He is a force of innovation. He is a thinker that transforms problems into solutions, and is a patriot who believes deeply in the potential of homegrown technology. He is the founder of Robotic and Artificial Intelligence Nigeria, known as RAID. It's a groundbreaking institution that has dedicated to developing indigenous solutions in robotics, AI, and advanced technologies. Through RAID, Dr. Ayoola is not only building machines, he is building minds, he's nurturing young talents, and is igniting a movement to make Nigeria a producer, not just a consumer of advanced technology. Dr. Ayoola holds a doctorate in robotics and artificial intelligence from one of the most prominent institutions in the United Kingdom. And I'm very fortunate to have graduated from the same school with him. He's one of the Russell Group University of Manchester. So he has conducted world-class research in machine perception, autonomous systems, and cognitive robotics. But what sets him apart is not just academic excellence, it is his commitment to solving Nigerian problems within Nigerian intelligence. Because I asked him, this thing you are doing, assuming they come to attack you there in Ibadan, where you are, he doesn't care. From developing AI-driven surveillance systems to indigenous robotic platforms, which was designed for agriculture, security, and infrastructure inspection. Dr. Ayoola is boldly providing that innovation. It doesn't have to be imported. It can be born here, it can be grown here in Nigeria, and exported from Nigeria. So he is a regular voice in national conversations around technology policy, digital sovereignty, and the future of Nigerian youth in the fourth industrial revolution. Today, as we explore the future of AI and machine learning in Nigeria, there is no better person to lead us forward through insight, inspiration, and action. Please join me to welcome Dr. Olusola Ayoola to the stage. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for that very generous introduction. I am very humbled to have the floor after you. And you have been remarkable in your encouragement, in your leadership, in your support for the work that all of us in the field of AI, technology generally in Nigeria, are doing. You are using your office to make sure you give us a voice, you give us the exposure and the visibility. So I really want to thank you deeply for that. I want to thank the entire membership and leadership of Association of Artificial Intelligence Machine Learning of Nigeria for the great work being done. Host, please allow me to share my screen while I am already entering into the topic. For the work you're doing, and it's remarkable because the AAIMLON is a convergence of so many leaders who have all keyed into the vision of building AI platforms across all sectors in Nigeria. And that is to say that we are lucky, to have this group. Please, host, I would like to share my screen. I'm disabled from sharing screen. I need to share my PowerPoint slides. Still not allowed.
Mrs. Ayoola, please, can you share his screen?
Okay, I'm allowed to share it now. Great. Now it's fine.
Recording in progress.
All right, Philippa, thank you. Can you confirm you can see my screen?
I can see your screen from Scotland here.
Oh, great.
Can be seen, sir.
Should I be worried that you're all the way from Scotland? I'm just joking. All right. Now, the topic is...
Not yet.
The topic is Nigeria's encryption.
Mrs. Ayoola, can you confirm your slide?
Yes, my slides are currently showing on my screen. I hope you can see my slides.
I can see it clearly here too.
Clear now.
Okay.
Please proceed.
Go on, doctor. Mm.
All right, sir. Now, if you have attended several AI conferences focusing on Africa, focusing on Nigeria, one thing will be very, very prevalent, and that is the regular complaint, the incessant complaints by many people in the AI field that there isn't enough access to data. There is data scarcity. It's hard to find a data, for example, of Nigerian names, Nigerian voices, Nigerians' text in various languages, data about places across, sectors in Nigeria. For instance, you are looking for where are all the police stations across Nigeria. Where will you go to get that data? Data about demography. We're not just talking about large language models type of data about literature or history. Even that, people have complained they don't know where to get them. It is so bad that sometimes you will need to go on some global platforms to get local data about Nigeria. Where is it? Where are we in this case? And it is much of an irony because while AI is thriving globally, AI can only be successful when it applies to the common man in our locality. So how does AI affect the local woman in a minority zone or tribe in Nigeria? So the question is, with all our diversity and variety of culture, which is supposed to be a strength and a wealth for us, much of this is still undigitized. Much of this is still undigitized. And
I don't think person can mute his speaker so we can. Thank you, doctor.
And even the few data that is digitized does not conform to the standards of high quality that we want to use for AI. How can we encourage the local researchers to dig data, to digitize data from local communities? I've been in touch with one of our senior developers in the field of AI in Nigeria who says he is looking to obtain local data about traditional healings, traditional ways of doing things across different tribes in Nigeria, what we call witchcraft, what we call jazz. He wants to digitize all these things, all these sciences, to see how AI can learn from it and postulate better solutions to our local problems. And so the local data collectors, like that person, is faced with a paradox. After stressing him or herself to collect this data, will I push it to a global platform and lose the control of it? Will I push it to a global platform, keep it away from my fellow Nigerians or Africans, yet the global tech giants that own these platforms can, without my consent, use this data to train large language models or AI solutions and sell to us in Africa? So the question now is, how do we deal with this data challenge of undigitized data, which is our wealth, of the use of foreign infrastructure for local data, which ends up on overseas platforms even when we can't access it? Do I talk about my experience requesting from a government agency some data, and the letter they sent back to me was, sorry, we can't give you this data because it is not yet complete. And then I said, okay. Then I went online, not to the dark web this time, to an actual reliable website, and I paid $52 to get this data, which I could have paid to the Nigerian government. So the use of overseas platforms for our own local data, is that not a challenge? Then the security risk, when we have to rely on external data sets, won't that lead to a data misuse, whether knowingly or unknowingly, with consent or non-consensual use of our data? Non-consensual use of our data? Won't that lead to a reduced AI accuracy if we cannot still rely on data from foreign platforms because they are not representative of our local experience? In fact, security breaches, when we build on platforms models that are not locally trained, do we know what lies in all of these models. Lastly, if data is the new crude oil, as we say, shouldn't we ensure that we own the data and benefit from it? We must encourage sharing locally for local development, for local AI solutions. Many AI developers are lamenting their inability to obtain data which they need to use to build AI solutions for localities like healthcare in the rural areas and so on. So let's see, how can we foster data sharing culture in Nigeria to unlock the AI potentials? And from some research, one way to do that is to build robust platforms. If there is a robust platform, centralized, where all of us who have some data, and when I say all of us, I'm referring to individuals and organizations. And I will come to that very soon, organizations. But even individuals, you have your own company, you have your own outreach, you have your organization, your foundation, data day in, day out of people trooping in, of customer interactions, of the market, your experience with the market and so on. All of this data, how do we ensure that we share it? By first having a centralized platform where we know we can upload our data, where we know we can download other data, where we know we can search for data. Why do I need to start thinking about which agency to talk to if I need meteorological data? If there could be a central platform I could just go and scan through. Now, how can we also ensure that the data is in a standardized format? For instance, the platform I had to pay for to collect data, some columns were blank because whoever collected the data was not aware that the data was to be collected for the purpose of AI training. So they would just assume that, don't worry, even if we don't have this, at least we have this. Whereas when it comes to AI, if your data set is not cleaned, you cannot make good use of it. You have to resort to manual ways of either replacing what you think is missing, which could lead to further inaccuracies. How can we also establish governance policies that will protect privacy? When you ask many companies today, why don't you want to put your data? They will tell you, data is the new crude oil, is the new wealth. It can be used for or against you, so you have to protect your data, keep it to yourself. These same companies yet want to have access to other people's data because they need to infer. So if we do not collaborate, if we don't share, how can we maximize the potentials? We must therefore build trust networks. I'm talking about people who are recognized as data contributors, because if we agree to allow every Tom, Dick, and Harry to populate data on a platform we can all make good use of, don't be surprised when you see crooked data that can lead to some erroneous inferences. So we have to acknowledge individuals that will be contributors, organizations that would share valuable data sets. And they're not hard to find. Reputable organizations like hospitals, banks, network companies, engineering companies, manufacturing companies, schools, hospitals, and so on. Let's create communities of networks that will encourage data sharing, something like a collaborative system, as we know with other platforms like Kaggle and Co. Let's ensure security of whatever is placed on these platforms or on this particular platform. And finally, let's foster credibility. Data quality should be assured, and of course, data reliability and availability should be assured. More importantly, accessibility does not have to be paid for. It could be free for researchers, paid for businesses. So we need to have that network. Then the culture must also transform. Leadership must be by example. When those in the private sector or in the government want local people to bring out data, to go and dig into data, to research and pull data from undigitized platforms, then the leadership must also share what they have. In a case where the government bodies do not even share amongst themselves, how can we build a platform for the country? In a case where organizations, even AI organizations, AI researchers, developers, do not even share data, how can we lead? Our mindset must therefore be collective. We must shift our thinking from my own data to our data. More importantly is the moral responsibility. If big organizations fail to share their data, they deprive a lot of people, a lot of researchers, the possibility of solving most of our problems. Can there be a threshold set that once your organization interacts with a certain number of population in the country, you must share some data, some class of data? I know some data will be classified. Of course, there are processes that need to be taken, cleaning it up, making sure it's not personalized and so on. But there must be some class of data that you must share if you have a large interaction with the populace. For example, the telecommunication companies, the examination bodies. The other day, we were trying to train a handwriting detection identifier model that can tell whose handwriting this is. We struggle to get it, whereas I'm very sure WAEC has, even though maybe undigitized, but reservoir of handwritings with various personalities. We don't need the names, we just need the categorization of the data. There must be that responsibility. Now, compelling incentives, maybe financial rewards, and I'm afraid to suggest this because we don't want a world where everybody will start selling their data. But there must be policies in place for when financial reward will come in. It is just like all these social media platforms. You don't start making money overnight. You must reach a threshold. So at what point would you begin to get paid for your data contributions? Would it be when an AI solution is brought about through your help? Or should we pay with in-kind through reciprocal access? So a platform allows you to use their data because you have also shared some data. Should there be enhanced visibility for people who share data, some kind of award, publications and public acknowledgement, and so on? Should we also go the route of building knowledge? Because if people don't even understand that they have data, how can we encourage them to share? You would see companies that do recruitment not value the privacy of what they even have in terms of people's CVs. Do we need to encourage them to understand that this is data? Sharing best practices. What should we do in terms of sharing? How do we go about it, and ethical frameworks? But you see, the issue of data, as I've just tried to summarize, is a big problem, is a big challenge. There has to be a solution to this. And the gateway solution, which I prefer, I have discussed this before now. It came up in a meeting we had in Paris when the Honorable Minister hosted some of us in Paris on the eve of the AI Action Summit. And he actually mandated an initiative to be set up. I'm talking of the Honorable Minister of Communications, Innovations and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani. And in this gateway solution, which the Honorable Minister is now leading, control access. Nigeria should allow for access, but with a level of control. Now, this is not inhibiting any access, but at least providing awareness and consent to what data is being used by who to train what AI. Where Nigeria and Nigerians hold the encryption key to this secured data. The storage itself needs to be secure. Of course, it would have been secured if we could simply leverage on our local infrastructure. Let's say we have sufficient data centers that can house our data, then of course, the storage will be secure. But now we are talking about securing our storage, even when it is not being stored locally, even when our data is being stored on global platforms. So that's to say that we know we don't have sufficient infrastructure to save our data, all our data in Nigeria. Let's leverage on existing global platforms, cloud services, and yet still have it secured. By doing what? By creating a digital checkpoint, a gateway that manages the outflow and inflow such that even the keepers, global keepers of our data cannot access unless they pass through this gateway, which we can willingly make available to them. This is because we may not have infrastructure of our own, such as data centers and cloud compute services, but we can build a gateway that encrypts data, so even foreign platforms need our permission to access this. And it's not just us in Nigeria thinking about this. You will see examples of customers who have been worried about their security of their data and decided to employ data encryption services outside the control of these global giants. But we are talking of a national drive, so some kind of security through innovation. Let's build our traditional passwords. Let's build our traditional encryption method. Let's introduce some kind of time-based formula for passwords. Let's enhance protection through some kind of resistance-proof platforms, cybersecurity platforms. Blockchain could be invited or not. And of course, with user control. And I will get into this in detail very quickly. Let me not belabor the point on the benefits. I know that we all understand that with data, AI can become more accurate. Localized AI can help local people, and we can see the benefits quickly. So what's this encryption strategy that we are trying to propose? Number one, there is the so-called NIST standards, which is a benchmark for what encryption globally should be. How should we agree to encrypt data globally? At first, it was the data encryption standard. Then it moved to the advanced encryption standards. And we have SHA 256, we have RSA, and so many other encryption standards. Which one, as Nigerians, do we want to adopt? However, there are basic expectations for any encryption standard. Number one, you must publicize your algorithm. The security of the encryption should not be in the secrecy of the algorithm, rather in the secrecy of the key. So that means everybody in the world should understand the algorithm, so they too can deploy it whenever they want. They can also see there is nothing hidden in the algorithm. There is no trapdoor, which means somebody somewhere having access to your encrypted data even when you think you've protected it. But then that is the standard. It must be fast to implement, very easy, and not be computationally expensive. So these are standards we should agree to meet if we adopt the AES, the RSA, the SHA 256, or our own indigenous encryption standard, by inviting Nigerian players from across the world to build it for us. And when it comes to encryptions, in particular the AES, there are multiple key sizes. You could have 128, 190, 256. It gets more and more difficult to crack when you implement such bits of, high-level bits of encryption. And there are, of course, several other algorithms involved, talking about the transformation rounds. How many times do you encrypt within just one cycle? And so on. Our own challenge in Nigeria would be, if we want to establish our own encryption method, we are going to be facing the issue of talent shortage. I did a research and found that we don't really have enough cybersecurity experts at the top expert level. We have intermediate, we have basic levels, but where are the experts? They are Nigerians, but they are globally scattered. How can we leverage on that? Secondly, we have the brain drain problem. Even the few experts who are of cybersecurity experience that we have here are being siphoned out. They are being taken away, and the ones that refuse to travel out are working remotely for foreign companies. Just 2 days ago, I was reading on a platform where one of our developers, a Nigerian, was saying that he has signed out of doing anything for Nigerian tech companies. He's now only working for foreign companies, even though he's in Nigeria. Perhaps because of the pay and maybe the work culture. Also, we face the security risks. When we rely on foreign systems for encrypting, our national security becomes endangered. And so local expertise is critical. We can't do without that. There are encryption innovations globally. We have the quantum resistant algorithms, we have the developer-friendly tools to use, and of course there are hybrid models. But to build our own gateway of encryption, we are looking at two types. One is going to be the offline desktop application. So this means that how can we ensure that you, as a data collector, someone that has data of value, how can we ensure you can encrypt? have our software, the National Encryption Gateway software, on your desktop. Offline, you can encrypt your files. You own the key. We don't know your key because you're working on it offline. You can transfer that document to any cloud storage in the world. You own it. You have the encryption key. Or we can have an online web application platform where you upload to that account. You would open an account, you upload to your web platform, even though it is still the encryption gateway secured, but then you upload your file to that platform. It encrypts it for you, destroys the original, and allows you to push the encrypted file to any of your choice cloud storage, whether it is OneDrive or Dropbox or Google Drive or iCloud, Amazon, Azure, and co, like that, Oracle. Then, of course, there is the aspect of the local management. The encryption process itself, built in Nigeria, processed in Nigeria, cloud services have no knowledge or access to it. Your encryption key does not cross the borders. You're only sending out your encrypted document, which reduces the risk because there will be minimized unauthorized access during your transit of your data or storage. So this means that you can be 100% certain that unless your encryption key leaks out by you or in Nigeria here, foreign companies may not have access because we've encrypted it with the highest level of standards. And so what this means is that we're not locking out Nigeria from the rest of the world when it comes to data sharing in AI. No. We're simply saying we have a gateway, just like crude oil, you buy from NNPC, isn't it? You don't just go into Nigeria and start drilling. There could be an agreement, there could be an understanding where tech partnerships, where we can collaborate with global giants on how they can use our data to support our infrastructure and the likes. Where we can leverage on our diversity to decide how the global players relate with Africa. And like the Honorable Minister said, whatever we do as a gateway for Nigeria, our neighbors in Africa would love to use it. Ghana would love to use the gateway. Cameroon would love to use it. Niger would love to use it. Benin Republic would love to. And that just means that we will now have a gateway not for Nigeria alone, but for the Africa bloc. Now, local encryption using our own algorithm before the data leaves Nigeria means that there's going to be a huge collaboration amongst cryptographers in Nigeria, among blockchain experts in Nigeria, among AI experts and data players. So that means that we are encouraging so much cohesion, promoting our capacity for cybersecurity in Nigeria. Knowledge transfer will be a thing because there will be so much expertise that will be brought in. Those who are experts globally will interact with those who are intermediate level and basic level and will rise in that area. Just like Germany has a very strong encryption team, which we can have. Then with cloud services, leveraging on those platforms, we won't be crying about our inefficient or inadequate cloud, storage data centers in Nigeria. We will happily interact with global players, use their platform, knowing that our data still is under our own management. Data governance, I don't need to say much about that. It just means that even there will be policies on how everyone can bring up data, place it on the platform, own it, share it, get paid when it becomes commercially relevant, and so on. But that just tells you that there is already a lot we can look forward to it under data governance. I know data privacy is a big deal, so that means that even in the whole process of encrypting, there must be some form of standardization that people must comply with, so you don't push out private data. Now, I was saying to you that there was a company that people were using. It's called Box Crypto. Box Crypto provided this kind of gateway I'm just talking about. It was a private company that started in 2012. And what they did was they had a desktop application that does encryption using AES 256 RSA 4096 encryption. Very strong algorithm. They would encrypt your document with AES and encrypt the key with RSA. Then they allow you to push that document or any of those documents to Google Drive, Dropbox, iCloud, and all sorts. So what that meant was that Google, iCloud, and co we're helping to store already encrypted documents. Even box crypto wouldn't have access unless you, the owner, grants permission. It's what some of us have on our phones called vaults. Now, the point is, box crypto, 10 years after operations, got acquired by Dropbox in 2022. So Dropbox bought box crypto. Why? Good question. And then people started to worry about their security of the data. If I have deliberately encrypted my data using box crypto on Dropbox, why would I be comfortable with Dropbox now buying box crypto? Do they want to decrypt it? Do they have a trapdoor? And so people started decrypting and looking for alternatives. Some alternatives were CryptoMeter, NordLocker, Tresorit, and Mega.nz. CryptoMeter, for example, compares very well with box crypto, saying that they allow you to decrypt even without them because the algorithm is open source. You can scrutinize it and see there is no trapdoor where they can take advantage of you, and so on and so forth. So that's by the way. So what I'm trying to establish to you is that the gateway we are talking of building, we won't be the first to do it. Companies are doing it, but we are just saying let the whole country together build a gateway we can all use, we can all transact if we need to, and we can at least grant consent or permission for our data being used for AI training. We know who we are contributing, whose AI project we are contributing our data to. When it becomes commercialized, they can easily refer back to us for either endorsement, appreciation, or financial benefit. But now, moving away from the security of the AI platform, of the encryption platform, if we agree, because it is true, that encryption platforms like the AES algorithm are so strong that it will take you billions of years to try to crack it. If they don't give you the encryption key, then that is a given, that is settled. And if they don't own the encryption algorithm, that is settled. How about the weakest link, which is the password that has access to the data? As the owner of this encryption, of the file you have encrypted, you don't keep the encryption key in your head. What you keep is your password that accesses your account. You can talk about two-factor authentication as many times as you like. You can talk about OTP as many times as you like. But the fact remains that the password is one very strong way to cracking, and it's a very weak link. How can we do this? So our platform is not just going to be the regular type of system. We are going to be using the time-based formulaic password system. What does this mean? It means that we are going to be using not string passwords. Like if I ask you, what's the password for your Gmail account? You probably say easy123 hash. Well, that means it's a string because I need to type it exactly like that to gain access. If anybody sees me typing it, they have hacked my system already. So we are saying, no, we're not going to use that. We are going to use a unique method called the dynamic password. A password that is based on time and date and is also based on a formula along with your static strings. And the advantage is that even when somebody sees your password right now as you're typing it, the next minute it becomes invalid because the password depends on a formula, time-based formula, and not just the string. Now, what we are simply saying is that you will be typing your password with the knowledge of what the time right now is and the date, with your own knowledge of what formula you have used to create the password based on time and date. I don't want to spend too much time on this topic. You can always request further discussions later on. But parameters that this depends on are H, M, D, 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 M, M, Y, Y. So if you know the year, for example, you'll be able to come up with your password. For example, if your password is password D, I'm looking at the third example now. If your password is password D with D in a curly bracket, where D stands for the day of the week, that means on Monday, your password will be password 1. On Tuesday, your password will be password 2. On Friday, your password will be password 5. You can complicate it by making that D to become D plus 4 or D times 3. So that means that if it's Friday, D times 3 becomes 5 times 3, so your password becomes password 15. You know the formula, others may not know the formula. So that is for more secured system of passwording, so that nobody can easily steal your password. And what's the fun of this? Sometimes hackers try to generate your password to see how they can quickly generate your password. And that's why we are told, let your password be very complicated. NIST earlier said, let your password be alphanumeric, hash keys and some characters, capital case, lower case, and so on. Then earlier this year, they said, no, you know what? Let your password be a long sentence. You don't need to have hash key, space, and all those asterisks, but just let it be a long sentence. For example, your password should be, I have been to the market, but there was no mango to find. Okay, they believe that it will be difficult to crack it. But I'm saying, with dynamic passwords, even if it's as simple as password 1, where 1 stands for the minute we are in right now, if you think it's easy to crack it, maybe. But you must not only crack it, you must crack it at the right time for it to be valid. So extract the time components, evaluate the formula, generate the password. So I wouldn't belabor you on this. We'll go straight to the next thing. So what's the expected result? If we apply the encryption gateway we've spoken about, whether desktop app or web app or both, and we apply the dynamic password system we have just discussed, we expect to see more and more organizations trusting that their data is secured if they make it available on a platform. Even though, like I said, the platform is not warehoused locally, it's warehoused in cloud services, but with the encryption key owned by them, they would happily share. We'll see the sharing of data increase. If there's a regulation, it is data governance that says who is getting what from you, so that you know what your stake is in their eventual company later on, that would also encourage people to contribute. So we'll see active contributors. Even those who normally would not go and look for data will be encouraged. We'll see cross-sector projects, because now it will be easy to get data about civil engineering, data about healthcare, data about governance, politics, and so on. And we'll see more AI applications that are relevant to our sector, to our community, being developed. It's expected to take about 12 months or 24, depending on how fast people want to go. Assessing data practices, relying on existing infrastructure, building a community, scaling and refining, and of course, building the platform we've talked about. So in conclusion, we need a multi-stakeholder approach. The government already is interested and is involved. We need indigenous communities, those who have data, even though not digitized, to make it available for digitization. We need the researchers and the organizations that are into data collection and analysis to collect this data in its raw form, digitize them, and make them available on platforms like this that we're talking about. A number of organizations are already doing that. Data Science Nigeria is doing that. Awari is already into that. RAIN is equally looking into that. And we are encouraging more players to come into the field of contributing to open source data. But we will not just push for open source data. We will expect that it should be not without consent, and it should be referenceable. And that's why we need a gateway like this. So a call to action is for all of us to join the initiative. We need experts who are into encryption, data science, web development, and of course, governance and policy. We need to build the platform. Let's create a gateway that encourages data collection, secure storage, ethical usage, and more importantly, eventually, transactional data. Secure our future. Let's ensure that Nigerians get the best from AI. Let's ensure that we have the data that will serve us, that will serve our researchers, and that will encourage even global players to build AI solutions that would support us. The future of AI in Nigeria depends on adapting technologies to our unique identity, our data, our encryption, our future. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Olusola, for that wonderful presentation. For those of you that may have joined us quite